Well, admittedly, I'm a sick man. Here I am on version 4 of the complete Chicago Bears offseason, and we haven't even hit wild card weekend yet. But the Bears are in the midst of all their hiring interviews. They're in the midst of trying to figure out this head coach thing. So I'm going to do the legwork for you, Ryan Poles. I'm going to show you which players are worth taking and the correct path and avenue we need to take to make this a success this year. Go ahead, hit me up. You got me on Twitter. You got me on email. Get me any way you want to, Ryan Poles. I'm available to consult, buddy, because this is the path we need to take. Starting right there with the center, Ben Johnson is the only path. From there, we're going to go right through this quickly because it's the same as the other days that we've done this. Everything here is the same. Salary cap hasn't changed. The cuts that I want are still the same. Let's move that off of him. Ryan Bates, sorry. You're gone, buddy. Gerald Everett, sorry. You're gone, buddy. Those who haven't seen the previous channels, Ryan Bates we can cut, or previous videos, Ryan Bates we can cut with no dead cap. Gerald Everett, $1 million in dead cap, save $5.5 million. You can get a very quality tight end, especially one that can block for that value. So there's where we stand, $96,450,000. After that, we're gonna do the signings, re-signings. This time we're not gonna re-sign Matt Pryor. I like Matt Pryor, but after going through all my sacks on that video, I think there's just someone a little more quality we can get, a little bit younger. So we are gonna re-sign Tevin Jenkins. We're gonna get him for $13 million in this video. Just roll with it. It's a good value. Coleman Shelton, $5 million. And Bill Murray, we're going to do an earnings restricted free agency. We're going to match the league minimum. All we have to do is give him a league minimum contract, which this next year is going to be $1,030,000. Moving forward, Austin Reed's already been signed to the practice squad. Nothing there going to change there. We're going to re-sign Colin Johnson to a 1-year contract, league minimum, and we will be able to do that with him. Over here, we're not going to re-sign Chris Williams, Jake Martin, or Byron Cowart. We're going to overhaul our defensive line. Jack Sanborn, we're gonna match his. He's a restricted free agent. We can match whatever offer. Same with Josh Blackwell. We're gonna match both them. Josh Blackwell getting more and more valuable with the kick returns and the punt returns, so good for him. Jalen Jones, we're gonna match his as well, $1,030,000. This is basically the same as all the other videos. If you haven't seen the other videos, this is the 4th complete overhaul of the team, the complete offseason that I've done. So this part's basically the same as the rest. But here's the breakdown of it. What we spent on the offensive line, wide receivers, linebackers. You have to account for some buffer cap and some draft picks and practice squads. So after all that, our free agency, after we added $9 million here and spent the money here, free agency is going to be right in at $50 million. That's what we have to spend. So let's have some fun with this. I try to bring you guys some new names, some new people we could be considering and taking. I've tried to stay off the Trey Smith thing because I'm pretty sure the Chiefs are going to figure out a way to save their cap and extend their Super Bowl window. They're going to find a way to keep him. I know they don't have a lot of money, but that's what teams like the Saints and the Chiefs have been doing to be able to keep their cap going and try to extend these windows. Eventually the Piper comes calling, but they do it for now. So jumping right into free agency, I'm going to do a bunch of mid-level signings, and I'm going to bring an old familiar face back because I think he's still got a little tread on the tires. He's going to be 34 by the time next season starts, but that's still not that old. Here's something to look at for you guys when you look here. Whenever you see this type of one, this is from Spotrac. This is their valuation. This is from Over the Cap's valuation. And I value right in the middle here with the extremely stout draft class that's coming out. I think it's going to be somewhere right in the middle there for free agency. And I think Khalil Mack would like to come back. We need rotation on the defensive line. I think a lot of you are starting to realize as I talk about this more and more, you rotate more defensive players than anybody, defensive linemen than anybody in any other position throughout a game. So you have, 8 different defensive linemen you're going to rotate throughout a game, whereas the offensive line, you want to be the steady same 5 all game. The defensive backs, you want to be the same steady ones throughout the entire game. Linebackers, wide receivers, you rotate a few wide receivers depending on the play call and the scheme and what you're going to have happen. But your defensive line rotates more than any, so we need a lot of help on the defensive line. So we're going to bring Khalil Mack in on a 2-year, $18 million deal. I think he wants to come and spend some time in Chicago, come back with us. Then we're going to get defensive tackle Milton Williams out of the Eagles. Now, you might be saying, well, he probably wants to resign. He probably does, and he had a career year, 90 grade on his pass rush, which is really solid. 302 opportunities, 40 total pressures, 6 sacks. Good year for him. And we need someone solid to pair up with Gervon Dexter. Even if we bring rookies in, even if we draft some guys, we need some depth here at defensive tackle. So we're going to bring in Milton Williams. We're going to overpay a little bit, $8 million a year. Over the cap has a valuation of $6 million. Spotrac doesn't have their valuation, but $8 million would be a very solid. That's double what Andrew Billings is making. He's young though. He's 26 years old next season, 25 right now. So we're going to overpay Milton Williams a bit, and that'll make him want to come here. Next up, we're going the opposite approach, and we're going to go age. We're going to go away from the youth, and we're going to bring some vets in because our offensive line is going to have 6 new guys on the interior, or 6 guys, period. We re-signed Tevin Jenkins and Coleman Shelton, but now we're going to take Kevin Zeitler, who has been a model of consistency. You look here all the way across the middle. This is probably his worst year last year for sacks with the Lions. He had 5 sacks given up, but only 18 pressures. Only 18 pressures given up this entire year, which is very, very solid. And he is a model of consistency in both run blocking and pass blocking. In fact, his run blocking was even better this year with Monty and Jahmyr Gibbs with him. So you might ask, why would Kevin Zeitler want to leave the Lions? Well, they've got to re-sign him, and if we overpay a little bit, we get $8.5 million here at his age, at 35 years old. Plus, his coach is coming over here as offensive coordinator, Ben Johnson. We bring Ben Johnson over. We're going to bring Kevin Zeitler there as well. We need that experience, and he's a big body, 6'4", 340 pounds, and he's solid. He's just a rock. He's been a rock the entire time he's been in the league with the Ravens, now with the Giants before that, and with the Lions now. So we're going to bring him over to the Bears and sign him for $8.5 million annual value, $17 million contract over 2 years. Next up is one that I have preached already a couple times. I'd really like Trent Brown to back up Darnell Wright for multiple reasons. Having solid depth behind Wright, Wright never misses time, but Trent Brown is as experienced as they come and as solid as they come. He had his injury last year, so he's probably looking to back up somewhere and looking to have a prove-it type of contract. 1 year, $5.5 million is very solid coming off an injury year. And Darnell Wright can learn some things from him. He would absolutely be a valuable resource to be able to help him with his vast experience. Trent Brown is awesome. So we'll bring him in for a year to back up behind Darnell Wright. We can also draft to be able to get some guys learning in the wings as well. All right, for tight end approach, we just cut Gerald Everett and saved $5.5 million. Luke Farrell is one of the best pass blocking tight ends in the league. Not much with his hand. I mean, he doesn't have bad hands, but he's just not much of a route runner. He's not going to get open a ton. He's at the end of his rookie contract with the Jaguars. He's been very solid for them. We're not looking to have a Cole Kmet type of receiver. He can catch the ball if he needs to. He's not terrible, but he's really one of the best pass blocking tight ends in the league. So we're going to bring him in as a Mercedes Lewis replacement and have a good pass blocking tight end to be able to help shore up chip block, to be able to help keep Caleb safe in the pocket, and this is going to help our pass blocking overall as a team too. 3 years, $10 million, $3,333,000 per year for him. Now, this one might surprise some people, but I'm liking the idea of it more and more. Najee Harris, he's a big back, 6'1", 242. Those who remember when he played for Alabama, he was a big bruiser, and I like Najee Harris. I think he can find a niche here, rotating with DeAndre Swift, and I still think with this deep draft class we can draft a running back as well. So I'm going to sign Najee Harris. Little overpay here, although Spotrac says he's worth 9.2. I don't think the market's going to go that high with all the running backs coming out in the draft this year. I think you'll see that people aren't going to be super eager to draft the running backs, but over the cap has his valuation at $7 million. He's still young, 26, 27 years old. Still some tread on the tires. So we're going to sign him to a 3-year, $24 million contract, and I do believe that's worth it. I really do. With his size, he can bring some mix, and then we can draft another one. We could really have a committee backfield that I would really like to see with the Bears. So I like the idea of signing Najee Harris. All right, I proposed Josh Palmer last time. I really like the idea of Josh Palmer, and I think he's worth more than what Spotrac is saying. Very consistent, 500 yards this season, 500 yards last season, 800 yards the season before, 353. Doesn't drop the ball very often. He's a very good route runner, very good size, very good speed, 6'2", 210 pounds. Contested catch is good. He had more drops this year than normal, so we might be able to get him for less than 2 years, $13 million. But I'm going to go for 2 years, $13 million, $6.5 million annual value here for Josh Palmer. Bring him in as our wide receiver 3. All right, so here's how that all, after we have our own team, and then after we do the free agent signings, here's where things stand. And we are also going to extend Kyler Gordon. Top nickel in the league, gets paid right now. Remember, nickels don't play every single play, just like Jack Sanborn doesn't play every single play because they rotate in, whether you're playing your man, your nickel, or your base. So we're going to sign him to a 4-year, $46 million extension. That's going to be $11.5 million a year. Right now, the top nickel in the league is getting paid $10 million a year. So this is breaking the cap. He might want a little bit more than that. We'll see what happens. We're going to add $2 million extra to his 25 cap. We can pay him more up front and just structure it differently for each year when you're giving them the bonuses like that, so we can give them a little extra money. But we're going to allocate an extra $2 million to the 25 cap to make it an even $11 million each year after this year. We'll have him signed all the way through to 2029, and I like that with Kyler Gordon-Young, hard hitter, a beast. I mean, everyone knows that Kyler Gordon's the future of this team. So after we've done all of this, you take our buffer cap into consideration, add the extension in here, take the buffer cap after we've added all this stuff. That's over $50 million. You can see, take the buffer cap. Now the buffer cap is down to 7. So we went over a little bit, but that's still right in line with Ryan Poles is. He's at $5 million right now after this year, and we've added some very quality pieces to this team. So this is a good direction to head in. Here's where we stand after all that, where our needs are, and I am going to consider Ian Cunningham is still a sought-after piece. You hear about Tennessee possibly bringing him in for an interview. We're going to pretend like we still have him, but we're not going to do the trade down from 1 in this draft. So we're going to kind of compensate it there. You know, I like the trade down from 1. I just don't know if Ryan Poles is going to do that. He just likes to take his guy, even if he has to overreach for him. So, but we filled a lot of holes here. Khalil Mack, Kevin Zeitler, Najee Harris, Josh Palmer, Trent Brown, Luke Farrell, Milton Williams. The reason I like the approach of this offseason is because this really helps shore up a lot of holes, and we're not dependent on all the draft picks for this. We still have some solid players, but we have draft picks that can rotate in if they're ready, or they don't have to start day 1 if they don't have to. And we have other spots where they can start day 1. So good options here. I like this approach for the Bears of really hitting free agency hard, and I really hope they do that. We'll see here in 2 months if that's the approach they take. So here's the draft order. Everyone knows it by now, but there's the draft picks in this scenario, 10, 39, 41. And I am going to trade down from 41. I think this could be the approach that Poles takes. We got 10, we got 39. From 41 to try to add a 4th rounder right in here. We just picked at 39, and we could trade back a little bit from 41 and gain some value there. So that's what we're going to do in this draft. So off we go, and the Bears pick 10th overall. And for the 10th overall pick, I mentioned it in my top 10 pick where people should be paying attention to. Princely Umanmielen. Most places in your mock drafts, databases, and all that, they won't have him as a top 10 pick. But I'm telling you, he is a top 10 pick. His pressure, his run defense, everything about him. He will be an instant, immediate game impact changer. And he's a very good tackler, and the Bears need that. They need someone who can set the edge and get the pressure, and he does both. He's very versatile with his alignment. He can play multiple roles on the defensive line, and he's flexible. He's just going to be a beast. I have full faith in Princely Umanmielen, so I'm taking him with our first pick in the first round, 10th overall, Princely Umanmielen. I really like Wyatt Millen. A lot of you guys don't think he's going to go in the second round this deep, but as you look at the draft boards, I really think he could. And I like some of these guys like this that can be they can play both tackle and guard. So he played tackle in college. Very elite protector, though. He's just a really, really good, strong run blocker and defender. You can see 0 sacks the last 3 years in college. 0 sacks allowed. Very few pressures. All those opportunities and very few pressures. So Wyatt Millen, he can convert in on the left side to guard. He can be behind Tevin Jenkins. And if Braxton Jones gets hurt, he could also start at tackle. He's got the size for it. He's 6'6" and 320 pounds. So he's got the size for it, and he probably has a better base day 1 than Braxton Jones. So maybe he could start over Braxton Jones. We'd have to see how camp goes. He's still young. I would assume Braxton would still start, but he's a good option to be able to back up both Braxton and Tevin Jenkins on that left side. So I like this a lot. Next up, like I said, we're going to trade down. So we're going to trade with the Cardinals. Cardinals are going to come up. Bears are going to come down. I understand it takes 2 to tango. It's hypothetical, but this is what we want to do in this scenario. We're not trading out of number 10, so we're going to trade down from 41. We just picked at 39. 41 to 47, pick up a 4th rounder, and the trade value is exactly there on the trade value chart. It's almost even on this one. So this one makes complete sense. And with that, I'm going to do on the other side of the line, on the right tackle side, another player just like Wyatt Millen, who I like a lot as you watch his tape. He's on Bruce Feldman's freak list as well, and he's extremely lean. He's big-bodied still, 6'3", 314 pounds. Other places have him listed at 320, 325 pounds. but very low body fat, and he's just nasty. He is just a nasty player. Really breakout year for him at Missouri this year. You look down here, pass blocking, run blocking, 9 pressures allowed and 410 opportunities. No sacks allowed this year, and low penalties as well, so very disciplined. So he's on the other side of the ball. He could do the same thing. He can back up. If we have Kevin Zeitler, he could back up Kevin Zeitler, but he can also fill in at right tackle if we need a tackle there on the right side for any reason. He's very quick. You see his 40 time is 4.9, which is absolutely asinine for a tackle and for a guard. So he really good options. I like these 2 players, Wyatt Millum and Armand Membu. Both of them can be versatile and play tackle and guard. I like that option for the Bears, and it gives us a lot more depth on our offensive line, and that's what we're looking for. So these first 3 picks, all of them helping the trenches, and that's the way that it should be in this draft. Down at 72, we're still going to hit the trenches. I'm going all trenches in the beginning. Last time, you guys know I took a safety here, so I'm taking trenches here. I'd like to take a defensive tackle earlier, but Alfred Collins at 72 is a really good option still. Good size as well as a really good run defense, and we need that with the Bears. Our run defense is one of the worst. He doesn't get nearly as much pressure as some of the other guys, but we signed Milton Williams, who gets a lot of pressure. Jervon Dexter gets a lot of pressure, and now we're going to take Alfred Collins, who can be a true run stuffer. It's one of those rundowns that that we're going to have, that you can rotate these guys in. Alfred Collins can come in, and he would absolutely stuff. And look at his grade there, 97% on the run defense. Down here, huge year, 89.5, 1.9% missed tackles. He's going to be playing in today's game in the college football semifinals. I'll have an eye on him, but I really like Alfred Collins here as an option for nose tackle for us. He'd rotate in with Andrew Billings as well. All right, so the theme of this draft that I'm doing is the first 5 picks are all trenches. All trenches. So with our comp pick, we're taking Jared Wilson, center out of Georgia. You guys know that I like him the most. I also like Jake Majors, like Seth McLaughlin. There's a couple of centers I like in this class, but Jared Wilson is my favorite one. Very athletic center. He can both run block and pass block. He's just a well-built package. He doesn't have to start day one. Coleman Shelton could start, but he's capable day one if he's called upon and needs to. I like Jared Wilson all offseason. I'm liking him more and more. It'll be fun to watch him in the combine and see how he does there too. All right, with our pick, we picked up by trading down from 41 to 47. This one is a bit of a stretch. I know some places really have Lathan Ransom, but he had his injury, so a lot of people think he might fall a little bit, but he could easily go in the 3rd round. But I'm going to stretch here. I'm going to say Lathan Ransom, safety. If this isn't possible, there's a lot of safeties in this draft that could be possible right here. But I'm going to take Lathan Ransom. I really like Lathan Ransom. Very good. He can play nickel as well, but he can play zone and he can play free safety. He can fill in at basically any one of those positions. He's good size, 6'1", 210 pounds, and he's very quick. So I like Lathan Ransom. We'll run through these last ones very quickly. Next up, this is a running back I haven't talked enough about, and I really like Brashul Tutton out of Virginia Tech. We'll move over here. 1,000-yard rusher this year, but more importantly than anything, he could be our breakaway speed guy. Do you see that speed? 4.3240. 4.32. He's not going to be your running back that's set up to pass block, but he's good size. 5'11", 209 pounds, and even if you look over here, proven production as a kick returner, adding immediate value as a rookie. Where was the other part? Proven weapon in the screen game because of his speed, but they talk about how he does have burst through speed in the hole, media accelerator, but he also isn't afraid to lower the shoulder and fight for tough yards in traffic, so he can lower the boom as well. So this is a deep running back class. I don't expect us to be going after the Cam Scadaboos. I love Scadaboo. You guys know that on this channel who've been following me. I like Scadaboo a lot. We're not going to go after Ashton Gentry. If we do, I'm probably going to fire Ryan Poles myself. I'll figure out a way. We're probably not going to go after, your top picks, Omarion Hampton, or any of those guys in the first couple rounds. But right here in the 5th round is a good spot for the Bears to pick a running back. And with how deep this class is, we could pick up someone like Brashul Tutton, who is a workhorse back, who can rotate in on committee. I know a lot of you might not agree with taking one in free agency with Najee Harris, having DeAndre Swift and Brashul Tutton and Roschon Johnson. I absolutely love it. Even if you're just using Brashul Tutton in screen games, even if you're just using him in the kick returns and punt returns, having those options on this team is something we haven't had depth in. And who knows, maybe you could even trade DeAndre Swift later on in the year And if Brayshaw Tutton does good enough, it's good options to have for the Bears to have depth at these positions. So I love it. All right, I talked about Luke Kandra several times, offensive guard from Cincinnati, and the same with him. He's very versatile as well. He can even move in to play center if he has to, if something happens with Jared Wilson and with Coleman Shelton. I like these guys that are versatile. So Luke Kandra is a late-round pick. With your 5th, 6th, 7th rounders, these are just opportunities, guys. Remember that. So he's not necessarily even a lock to make the team, but Luke Kandra, I think, is a hidden gem in this year's draft. He could end up going even higher, maybe in the 5th round, maybe the 4th round, but he's projected right now to be a 6th rounder. A little bit of technique issue is his only problem, but those are things that you can coach in the NFL. Has a hard time getting out to some of his run blocking schemes. These are things that I think he will develop into. He's still a young offensive lineman, so I love the prospect of Luke Kandra, and I would absolutely take him here in the 6th round. 2 more picks left because we picked up the extra ones. You guys know I love Jackson Woodard. He's just a beast. He's a defensive line, or he's a defensive back. He's a linebacker that just shows that defensive mentality of hitting. Like, he will be in on every play. I've watched him intimately at UNLV. I've watched him very carefully, and his coverage grades, he has interception after interception. Look there, he had 4 interceptions this year, 8 pass breakups, 59 coverage grade. He's in on sacks. He's in on every running play. He led the Mountain West in tackles. He was top 25 in all of FBS in both defensive grade and run defensive grade. So Jackson Woodard would be a steal if we were able to get him in the 7th round. I'd love to see him backing him up. And then with our last pick, I'm going to take someone who can help us on special teams yet again. You can see here at the bottom. I'll move me up. This is Jimmy Horn Jr. from Colorado, really their 4th or 5th option at wide receiver. But he still had decent yards, 434 yards, 566 last year with USF before he transferred, the same. So he's very consistent, not your number 1 receiver, but very solid. But more importantly, here's his return. And last year, Colorado was even better, but he's got a lot of experience in the return game. And even if you look on here, this is a little bit smaller, sorry. But manipulating defensive backs, possesses elite straight line speed, acceleration, 4.34 speed as well. But they talk about his ability to be a punt returner and kick returner as well. So very good option there for the Bears to be able to have multiple people. We can have, obviously, our running back from last year that was on the injured reserve. We can have our new running back here. We can have Jimmy Horn. There's lots of options. This is good to have depth and options for the Bears. All right, so here's how we filled out the team between the draft and between acquisitions. And I love every one of these that we do. I hope we can pull something like this off. We obviously do these dream scenarios, and they're fun to do. Ryan Poles, if you're watching, make it happen, man. Just go out and do your thing. Wheel and deal and make this happen, brother. Make it get done. We need something like this to happen. So we've shored up Alfred Collins, Wyatt Millam, Armand Membu, Khalil Mack, Princely Umanmiel, and Kevin Zeitler, Jared Wilson, Najee Harris, Josh Paul. It almost feels like we're like in fantasy land here, but this is really possible. Trent Brown to back up, Jimmy Horn Jr., Lathan Ransom, Luke Farrell, Brayshaw Tutton, Milton Williams, Jackson Woodard, Luke Kandra. It's just, this is dream scenario. So here you are with, I think I skipped. There we go. There's the offensive line. We'll start with them. Move me over. So you've got Braxton Jones starting. Easily Wyatt Millam could come in and start there as well. Open competition, the best 5 start. You got Tevin Jenkins. Good backups here in this scenario. Jared Wilson. Maybe Coleman Shelton starts off the year. We'll see. Kevin Zeitler, I don't think there's any way he doesn't start. But then you got Armand Membu behind him, and you also drafted Luke Kandra. And you got lots of contracts here that last a long time. So this is really solid. Trent Brown, and then you still got Bill Murray and Ricky Stromberg behind them as depth. I really hope Ryan Poles can pull something like this off. And the first 5 picks all go to the trenches. It's very possible it could. We've got to spend in free agency. It doesn't have to be the huge monster contracts. We can do a Tevin Jenkins contract and a Kevin Zeitler contract and still come out of this free agency as a success. I really think we can pull something like this off if he's willing to. Quarterbacks and running backs, we got Caleb Williams, Tyson Bagent, and Austin Reed. As you know, we've signed Austin Reed to a futures reserve, so he will be QB3. That's how our quarterback room should look next year. But then at running back, it's very, very stacked. DeAndre Swift and Najee Harris. That alone is better than what we had this year. Add to that rookie and Brayshaw Tutton, and I like this because you're not depending on your rookie, but you can bring him in behind DeAndre Swift and Najee Harris, and it's a solid combo. And then you still have Roshan Johnson as well, and Ian Wheeler, who I think should have consideration on returns as well. If you guys haven't seen my video on him from college, he was an elite returner. He's very special return ability, but he also has the ability to be an every down workhorse as well. We'll see how his injury comes back if he can fully heal. Then we go over to the receivers and tight ends. And admittedly, the tight end room needs a little work here. We picked up Brent Keithy, undrafted free agent from Utah, who was a high prospect last year but had a really down year. So we're going to pick up an undrafted free agent somewhere, but we got a blocking tight end in Luke Farrell, and then we still have Cole Kmet, who should primarily be used for his route running ability and his hands, his ability to be a receiver and get those touchdowns. So we can leave more of the blocking ability to Luke Farrell and let Cole Kmet do what he does best. And now we can have DJ Moore and Romo Dunze be the highlight and the focus, Josh Palmer as a 3. You've still got Tyler Scott, who should get some more touches this year, Colin Johnson, then you got Jimmy Horn, who can also help and work in on return abilities as well. Maybe he starts on the practice squad, but maybe he gets some shots here and there, and that's how it should be with your wide receiver 6 as well. All right, moving over to our defensive line. This isn't as stacked as some of the other ones I've done, but this is a solid, really good improvement. Your first rounder doesn't necessarily have to start day one. That's not a bad thing. He very well could start over Khalil Mack, but you signed Khalil Mack, and you're probably going to get Khalil Mack, but rotating a lot more and getting Princely in. So this combo is something I really like. Don't count Austin Booker out. I want to see what he does this offseason, how hard he puts the work in, if he adds those extra 15 pounds of pure muscle, if he gets a little bit more burst and a little bit more hand movement, if he's not trying to avoid as much and he'd be able to hit and swim and do the moves to be able to get past NFL tackles. It'll be interesting to see what Austin Booker does next year because I'm very excited to see what he does as well. These two guys here are on their way out. Dominique Robinson, Zach Pickens. I don't see a lot of playing time for them this next year, but they're still under contract and you have them for depth. But then you've got Milton Williams, you've got Andrew Billings, you just got the rookie Alfred Collins, you've got Jervon Dexter, and I would think somewhere down the line we got to sign another 3-tech here to be able to compete with Jervon, but he's got a couple more years. Then you got DeMarcus Walker, who's not stuck in that starter role. This defensive line might not be number one in the league, but it's significantly better than this year and one of the best the Bears have had in a long time. So I would love to see them pull something like this off. Get into our linebackers. We're going to get another undrafted free agent here, Cody Simon. He'll be playing tomorrow. You guys can check him out, but he should be an undrafted free agent. So we're going to bring him in just for a 6th man. It's always like this. He'll probably end up on the practice squad, but then we got Josh Blackwell re-signed. We got Reddy Stewart from the practice squad. We got Kyler Gordon with his extension. Jack Sanborn we matched his offer, so we keep him. TJ Edwards, Tremaine Edmonds. Might be the last year for Tremaine Edmonds, but he's going to be here this year. We'll see how he does. But then you got Jackson Woodard, who's an absolute ball hawk, an absolute beast on every single play. He's in on every tackle, so he'll be learning in the wings, and he could get some playing time as well. Noah Sewell, probably nearing the end of his time here as well. We'll see what he can do this offseason, but nothing impressive so far this preseason and up to now. So then at our cornerbacks and safety, nothing changes here except we bring Lathan Ransom in to be able to provide some depth. This is a team that I would be very excited with. I would absolutely love to see this team take the field and see what we can do with it and continue to grow. Probably not a Super Bowl contender this next year, but there's no reason we couldn't be if they develop and grow with head coach with Ben Johnson under the helm. So we'd have to see what happened, but I really like this one. Let me know what you guys think, though. Let me know if this is better than the last ones, if there's anything you like or don't like, if you want more home runs, free agency. There's not a ton of options this free agency. This really might be the best options there are, and I like a bunch of these mid-level contracts instead of the $1 or $2 or $3 million ones like Darrell Taylor and some of these guys we sign on kind of prove-it deals. This is more of your mid-level guys that help provide true depth for the Bears, and that's what I like about this one. And then we're just hitting the draft with players that can make impact now but also continue to develop. So this is one that I liked. I like this mock draft. So let me know what you guys think, though. Version 4 might be the best one yet. We're refining it every time. We'll see if we can improve it, and we'll see if things change as we get towards the combine and as we start signing guys in March. Things will be a little bit different, but appreciate you guys tuning in. If you haven't hit the like button, please do that. If you haven't subscribed, please do that as well. Appreciate you guys helping grow the channel. Share it with your friends. It's a lot of fun to do this. Until next time, da Bears and bear down.